Hi, this is continuation of our previous video. In this video, we are going to see distributed gateway deployment, lab setup on EVNG, modifying an existing security policy, and some useful commands through CLI. In our previous class, we had seen we need two different devices for the distributed deployment. We'll take one single machine with a Gaia OS installed with firewall application, and we'll take another machine installed with Gaia OS, and on top of that we'll be installing SMS application. Now this is our topology which we are going to configure in our lab. We'll take one firewall in which we'll have four interfaces, one interface connecting to a management zone. So we'll have a management subnet as a 105.0.0./24, and we'll have a SMS server with IP address .54. And I'll be connecting my base PC as a management in which I'll have the smart console installed, and I'll give some IP. I'll be connecting through this uh, admin PC to the SMS server and also to the firewall management interface. In firewall, I'll also have the LAN, WAN, and a DMG zones, and these are the respective subnets of each other. And also we can see the IP addresses configured at these interfaces. Now let's get started with our lab. On our EVNG, I have taken one machine of the Checkpoint Firewall, which I'll configure or I'll install the SMS application on top of that. I have taken Checkpoint Firewall over here. So on this machine, I'll be installing firewall application, and I have connected LAN PC. I connected one router over here. I have connected through which I can get the real internet access. Again, for DMZ, I have connected one router. In management, you can see I have also connected with my base PC. So if you guys really want to know about EVNG, if you have any confusions, you guys can follow our previous videos uploaded on our site regarding EVNG. I have given in details about the EVNG. Now, I'll just show you like how did I add the firewall. In my EVNG, I already had these images, so I can just simply add like this. So you can see it's very easy. I can rename it, right? So whatever name you want to write, you can write it here. So it's easier to deploy. So I have just taken all the devices and connected this lab, not a big deal. So you guys also please connect your devices in this way and then start all the devices. Now, once the devices are deployed, now we are going to take the console. By default on EVNG, all the devices will have a username as an admin and password as a test with a T capital 123, test 123 with T capital. I logged in here. Now in our document, I have also shown you some useful CLI commands. Now here you can use like so interface for checking the interfaces on your firewall. So interfaces all, right? So interface E0 for an individual interface. So configuration and press tab to see what's the next, right? If you want to configure an IP address, you can go with set interface E0, whatever the interface you want to configure IP, IPv4 address, and the length mask. All these things can be configured through CLI. So these are a few, the simple and the important commands that we need to configure our devices. Now I'll get into our device. So I had taken the console of our SMS. Here you can see how it's written SMS over here. I logged in inside. I just want to see. So interface E0 and press enter. Now here you guys can see we have an installed IP address over here. Now on EVNG, let me tell you, you will get a first phase of Gaia installation pre-installed on all these devices. So if you get such devices, in that case, you have to modify an IP address and configure as per your topology. So according to my topology, I need an IP address as a .254 from this particular subnet. So I'll write a command over here for the SMS. I'll say set interface, and I need E0 interface. You guys can see here I have connected with E0. So I'll go with E0 IPv4 address. I'll configure 105.0.0.254 with mask length as a 24. So you guys can see 105.0.0.0 is a subnet. From this .254, I had decided to configure an IP address, right, with the subnet mask as a 24. So I configured it. Now press enter, and now check the interface of a E0. You can see this IP address has been configured over here. Same way, I'm going to configure IP address at the firewall. So this device I'll be configuring as a firewall over here. So I'll log in with username admin, password test123, and I'll execute a same set command, interface E0. Here also you can see a firewall that I have connected to a management is a E0, and I'll say IPv4 address 105.0.0.253. I'll configure as an IP address with a mask length as a /24. So once this is configured, you can verify with show interface E0. Give this command, and you can see this IP address has been configured. Now, since I have connected this management cloud, named it as a admin PC, so I'll go to my admin PC and check the connectivity with both these devices. So I'll just say ping 254. I can see I have a reachability, and 253. I can see I have a reachability with my base PC. So both these interfaces of both the devices are reachable. Now I'll open one browser to get the GUI Gaia GUI or Gaia portal, https://105.0.0.254. Click on advanced, proceed. And I'll also open the another tab, https://105.0.0.253. And here say click on advanced, proceed. Please pay attention on the IP addresses. So 254 is for the SMS and 253 is for the firewall. So I log in here with the username as an admin, password as a test123 with T capital, and click on login. I'll do the same thing on the firewall device as well. So I'll say admin test123, press enter, and keep waiting until you get the next option on both the portals. So this Gaia will be pre-installed on your devices which you are using on EVNG. And if you guys are not aware of like installation of a Gaia, then you can watch our previous video. In that I have shown you how to install the first phase of a Gaia and then second phase of installation. This is actually a second phase installation of your Checkpoint. It will give me a next option. So I'm just waiting for the options to come. So we have two devices going on over here. Okay, in SMS you can see that I have got the option. Now I'll say next. Whenever you see open server, you understand it's a virtual device, virtual appliance. So say next here, continue. And this is an IP address. So I'll say next, continue, continue. I'll write the name here as a SMS. I don't have any domain or the primary DNS, secondary DNS. So I'll simply say next. It has automatically taken the time zone, date, time, everything. Say next. And I'm going to individually install the management over here. So I'll just select security management. I'll not select the gateway. Gateway is your firewall. So I'm going to install only one application. That's your security management. Say next. and say next. So currently I want to get an access to this management device through any IP address. So I'll not be going with a particular IP. I'll just simply go with any IP address, say next, and say finish. And the installation will start for the SMS. You can see security management is getting installed here. Now let this process complete. Meanwhile, I'll go to a firewall device on which I want to install the firewall application. It's still coming up. If it takes time, you can simply refresh and we can see we got the next option for the installation. Here also you can see open server. So it's a virtual appliance. Click on next, click on next. And these IP addresses are pre-configured. Say next, next, and I'll write the name here as a checkpoint one. Say next, and make sure that your time zone, everything are correctly configured. Say next. And now I'm going to choose security gateway, not the management. So these are the two different applications which we are manually installing on each devices. So say next and next. Here you guys need to configure SIC. SIC is a secure internal communication key, or you can say it's a kind of a OTP, one-time password used for the integration with your SMS server. So I'll give here the password as a capital A, small b, 12345, capital A, small b, 12345. Now this password will be used while integrating with the SMS server. Now say next and say finish. So here we are installing a security gateway. So you can see this installation is going on. Let's come to our previous installation. And here you can see the management installation is about to complete. See, this entire process will take around 10 to 15 minutes. It depends on your resources, what you have given, how fast your system is. So depending on that, these installations will take time to complete. So here we can see .254 getting installed for the SMS and 253 installing your checkpoint firewall. So we'll wait for a few minutes. I'll pause the video in between. Once this installation gets completed, I'll resume it back. Now we can see our installation is about to complete for our management server. And for firewall, we can see this installation has completed. So I'll click on OK and it will reboot your device. So we'll wait until it reboots and comes up. We'll see SMS has not completed yet. Now it will take few more seconds to complete. Almost done. So we can see this is about to complete. And you can see your firewall, which we had installed, it has rebooted. It's coming up. And your SMS is still about to complete. We'll wait for a few minutes. And you can also see Checkpoint Firewall rebooting. And we can see this installation has completed finally. We'll click on OK. And this will also reboot your SMS. So it will take some time to come up. And we can see our firewall is ready. It has rebooted and I can see the Gaia portal is ready for the firewall 253 IP address. And even for 254, we can see it's ready. Now I'll get into the firewall. And as we know that interfaces has to be configured through the Gaia portal itself. So I'll log in into a firewall Gaia portal with admin and test 123. And it's coming up. Now here we have a network management option. Here you can click on interfaces, network interfaces. And this is the interface which is configured for management. And as per our topology, we have taken E1 for LAN and we'll configure IP address as a 10.11.11.10/24. And these are the respective IP addresses we are going to configure. So I'll take the Gaia portal and I'll select E1 interface. So quickly E1 interface, I'll write the comment here as a LAN. This is not a zone configuration. This is just a name that I'm going to configure. And this is like enabling your interface, and we are going for a static IP. It's 10.11.11.10, subnet mask 24. So manually I'm configuring the interfaces of the firewall through a Gaia portal. E2 I have taken as a WAN. So I'll click on enable, write it WAN. I'll configure 172.16.3.75 with the subnet mask as a 24 and say OK. We'll configure E3 interface as a DMZ. So write a name here as a DMZ. IP address 192.168.30.10 with the subnet mask 24. So I'll recommend you guys to configure all these interfaces priorly. And you can see the names, the comments that I have given is showing over here, and it's applied. And you can see all these interfaces are up. So once the interfaces are up on your firewall, you can see .253 as an IP, which is actually configured as a checkpoint firewall. So once you see all these interfaces are up, then open the Smart Console. And try to connect your SMS server. I told you 3-tier architecture. Please remember, in our previous videos, I have already explained about the 3-tier architecture. So currently, I'm going to take the access of a smart console from this PC to the SMS, and through the SMS, I'll be integrating to your firewall. Now, let me log in. Username admin. This is a IP address of a your SMS server. Now I'll give a password here as a test123 and I'll click on login. If your services are not running as of now, it won't allow you to connect. So if you get such type of errors, you have to wait for some time. You need to wait until all the services on your SMS servers are running. So try it after 5 minutes and we'll see we will get an access to our SMS. We'll try again for a login. I'll say test123 as a password. I'll click on login. And it shows initializing services now. Your SMS server will not be initially starting. You have to give some time to start around like 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, then only you can see it will be able to connect and all this process will get started. So let your smart console open properly. Through this smart console, you cannot connect directly to a firewall. And this is our smart console. So in this smart console, we can see we have gateway security policies, right? We have manage and settings, we have logs and monitors. And this is a default policy which is present inside the smart console. And this policy will have an action as a drop, right? And we can see for a tracking, but click on gateways first. And currently we see we haven't integrated the SMS server with our checkpoint firewall. So we are going to integrate first of all. So we'll go with the gateway. We'll go with the wizard mode. And here you have to give a name. So I can give any name like checkpoint 1. It's not important to have a same name. It can be any name. Don't forget to choose a platform as an open server. This indicates the virtual appliance. Now the IP address 105.0.0.253 as an IP. Click on next. Now type the OTP SIC key that we had configured capital A, small b, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and say next. Now, if everything matches, if your key and IP address, everything matches properly, then it will give you the option. These are the interfaces which we had earlier configured inside our firewall. So it reflects, click on close and say finish. So the integration of a checkpoint firewall with the SMS server through the smart console has been done successfully. Now, these are the details of your checkpoint firewall. Now it shows you by default only the uh, blade of firewall is enabled. Any other blades are not enabled. If you want, you can enable manually a blade of monitoring. You can click on the network management. It will show you these are the interfaces by default taken, right? And you can click on this, you can see other options. So currently we are not going with these options. So these are the interfaces inside the smart console, and say okay. Now the status of your firewall hasn't come up. By default, you'll have a 15 days of a trial period, okay, on your virtual appliances. Currently, the status of a checkpoint firewall hasn't come up. If you find for a few minutes, like if the status is not coming up, you can click on install policy, publish, okay, and don't install the policy. Here it shows you target device. Here you can see target device, all the gateways. So currently I'm not installing it. I'll say cancel. You need to wait till this status comes up. So why did I tell you to click on install is sometimes your firewall status does not come up. So in that case, if you click on install policy, but you don't install it. Okay. So you can see now the status has come up. Now your firewall is ready. Now on this smart console, if you click on the security policies, you will see one default rule. This rule is named with a cleanup rule, right? So here you can see, like any source with any destination, any VPN, any services and applications, by default action is given as a drop. I'll give as a accept by default. And I want the logs and I want this policy to get deployed to which firewall? The checkpoint one firewall. So this is how I selected the default policy. Now I'll click on install policy. I'll publish and install it. So you can also see the targeted device where this policy will get installed. You can click here. So you can specify the gateway, click add and specify if you have multiple gateways, or else by default it will be with all gateways. So it will get installed to all the gateways. So I'll say okay and say install. So currently this policy, I'm deploying it on my firewall so that I can check the connectivity and all. So you can track the installation of a policy. You can click here, you can click on details. You can see your policy installation is in progress. 50% has been completed. So once it is 100% done, then only you should assume your policy has been deployed. If it fails in between, you have to redeploy it. And if your policy fails, you can also see the reason. It will reflect the reasons over here. So currently it hasn't shown us any kind of error. Let it complete 50%. So your installation is still going on. 99% done. Okay, finally we can see our policy has been successfully deployed, right? And you can come to all the devices. Like you can come to a LAN PC. Currently on my LAN PC, I haven't configured any IP address. I'll log in here with test 123 and I'll configure the IP and check. And through the CLI also I can check. I can log in into a firewall with username admin, password as a test123, and here I can say show interfaces, and you can see all. Now you can see all the details of the interfaces, the IP addresses that we have configured. This is for WAN, for DMZ, right? For LAN, this is what we had configured, correct? Now we can also verify by your LAN PC to the LAN interface. So we'll try to assign the IP on this LAN PC. We'll configure 10.11.11. As per our topology, we'll take .6 as an IP, subnet mask as a 24, gateway 10.11.11.10, and we'll take any global DNS over here. Say OK. And let's check the connectivity. 10.11.11.10. Press enter. You can see, yes, I'm able to ping my LAN interface. So this LAN connectivity is working fine. We'll come to DMZ server. Let's take a console. We'll also take the console of our WAN router. On this WAN router, we'll configure all these configurations. We'll say host name as a DMZ, interface G0 by 0 with IP address 192.168.30.3, subnet mask 24. I'll say no shirt, exit. I'll create an interface loopback 1 with IP address 192.1.1.2. Further in our labs 1.3. Further in our labs, we need this loopback for route. Okay. We'll also configure a default route, IP route 0 towards the 192.168.30.10. That's my gateway. I'll test the connectivity to our gateway. So I'll say ping and gateway IP, and we can see we are able to ping. We'll save the configurations. Now I'll go to a WAN router. I'll go to a configure terminal, host name as a WAN router, interface G0 by 0 with IP address 172.16.3.it's51 with subnet mask 24, and I would say no shirt, exit, and also check the connectivity at the WAN interface. So I'll say 172.16.3.75 as the WAN interface IP. I guess I forgot to give a no shut command. So we'll quickly check. Show IP interface brief. Yes, we can see here. Interface is up, but still we are not able to ping. It should ping. Give some time. Now you can see we have a connectivity. So guys, we configured the entire topology and we tested our connectivities from our respective zones and all the interfaces of the firewall we can ping. We'll see you in a next video with next step of the configuration. Thank you.